usually academic areas, intellectual areas, where you drive past and you see trees around you. Oh, look at that lovely tree. Look at the leaves. Oh, look at the fruit. Look at the flower. Ever bother to think about the root? That is the reason why the tree is standing. Ever try to understand the importance of the root? So we need to go to understand what we are doing and what we are studying. We need to go to the origins of that particular method. Otherwise, we are like, you know a lot, but actually you know nothing kind of people. You're very good in this very specific area, but if I ask you in general, very large things, then you say, oh, I don't know. So epistemology then is, people have been introduced to different methods of research like surveys, content analysis, I'm sure, at least you've heard of it, or qualitative methods like, depth interview, case study. Sure, you've heard these things. They are the leaves. They are the fruits. But what about the root? Why is it some people use case studies in their research and other people use statistical analysis and do hypothesis testing? Why? And both of them call themselves as researchers, right? You need to go to the root. And then you'll understand why some people do quantitative surveys. They collect hard data, numbers, and crunch them through some statistical software package and come up with results. Whereas some others do interviews to collect their information. So one needs to get into the epistemology. It's very important. So a lot of this stuff, I have gathered through in my own journey in academia. I started out as my major in intermediate PUC as well as in degree was physics, chemistry, and mathematics. That was my major. Only after I graduated with a BSc degree did I change my field. I went straight from quantitative to journalism and later to communication research. So I made the shift. And so I'm lucky that even though I didn't like physics, chemistry, and mathematics, at least I was socialized into it. And so I tend to think like one. Some of the principles of quantitative methods, I think like that. So I've been trained in thinking like that. So when I came over and I did my PhD, I sailed into quantitative research. It was a natural tendency. What kind of research do you like? Oh, I like quantitative research. I like statistics and all that. Why? I didn't ask myself, but now I know. Because I was trained as a physics, chemistry, math major, I was trained in these, even though my teachers never told me that. They never told me that. I wish they did. I wish they made teaching a little more interesting, Very dry teachers. That's the reason why I didn't like physics, chemistry, and mathematics. I think they're wonderful subjects, but terrible teachers. My math professor would come. He has no textbook in his hand. Open to page 181. Let us look at rider number 2. He knows the whole book. An exercise, turn to page 192. Please do problem number 1 and problem number 2. Dry people, okay? But anyways, sorry, I tend to digress, and today I promise I won't digress that much from the topic. I sailed into quantitative research because I was already trained. Statistics came to me like milk to the baby. It just came. I realized that I had no hatred for numbers, even though I was a math major before. I had no hatred for numbers. But now the numbers made sense in statistics. I was not studying abstract algebra. A plus B is equal to, you know, AB square, AB cube, square root of that. Statistics was numbers. It's just numbers, but it is applied in a concrete context. I can visualize it in my mind. Okay, all right. I loved it. But that is the epistemology of that method. They use numbers. Okay, so my training, and then of course, I took a whole lot of statistics classes. My course prescribed only 2 courses, one in methodology and one in statistics. Though a lot of people think the 2 are the same, they're not the same. Okay, statistics is a tool that you use with a methodology. Okay, so there's a difference there. So I went out of my department into other departments, educational psychology, applied statistics department in my university, and took classes because I wanted to be good at it, you know. And I have continued in that. But a lot of my writing, for example, yesterday I had a talk on development communication. A lot of it was critical research, not necessarily quantitative, which comes more in the area of qualitative. So my general writing has been in qualitative, critical, but my specific thing, like publication of papers or conference papers, has been strictly on collecting data, analyzing it, coming up with the results, and then which would come under quantitative method. So today we are gathered here to go on a journey again. Everything is a journey. Yesterday we went on a journey. Today we are going on a journey. It's a journey. And let's try to see what we can understand about the, thank you, epistemologies of these 2. Next one, please. I would like your participation today, please. Very simple participation. There's a question for you on the PowerPoint slide. Does a tree falling down in a deep forest at night make noise? Please read this question 2 or 3 times to yourself and come up with an answer. You have to come up with an answer. Don't say, sir, I don't know. You better know. And don't feel bad about saying yes or no, or saying only yes. Don't feel bad. Just, I want you to think about this carefully, this question, and answer yes or no. I'm going to save you from talking. I just want you to raise your hands. That's all. And keep it raised so that I can very quickly count. Does a tree falling in a deep forest in the middle of the night, nobody's around, does it make noise? A big tree falling down. How many of you say yes? Come on, come on. Because those who are not raising your hand, I better see your hands up on the no. Look, education is only good if you participate. Okay, yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17, 19, 20, 21. Oh, I have good, I think I have a majority maybe. Thank you. Who would say no? Oh, we have some very brave souls here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 12, 13. We have two answers, right? Now, whoever said yes, please choose yourself and tell me why you said yes. Anybody who said yes. Why did you say yes? It makes noise. Come on. Let's get going. Who? Yeah. Come on. Why do you? It's a simple answer, folks. I'm not asking for rocket science here. Just tell me. Okay. You're going beyond yes now, but yes. So basically what he's saying is that when a heavy object falls, okay, everywhere, it makes a noise. Okay. Why? He's going to look at me and say, why? Okay, so, okay. Anyone has a disagreement with what he said? Nobody, no? Makes noise. Very good. Who said, anyone who said no, please explain why you said no? Yes. Okay, so what you're saying, Meenakshi? No, what's your name? Okay. Sorry. Tells more about me than you. Okay, so what you're saying is, I don't know. I don't know if it makes noise. Why? Because you're not there. Anyone who has serious disagreement with her, now is your chance. Speak up or remain quiet forever. No, but it says not why, does. Ah.
They are not there to listen that noise. Their presence is not there. But in that question, the presence is not arising.
Okay. So the question was posed in a very general way, and it can be compared to a lot of situations in real life. But this is a philosophical question. In quantitative methods, the answer is yes. In qualitative methods, the answer is no. And that's why I would like to start this whole discussion with this enduring. Remember, it's enduring. It doesn't end. Why? Enduring puzzle. It's a philosophical situation, but I think it describes very well the distinction in the epistemology of the quantitative methods, or actually it's incorrect to say quantitative and qualitative. The correct terminology is positivistic methodology or philosophy, and interpretive or hermeneutic. That is the correct way of saying it, but we are so used to shortcuts because under the positivistic, the method to do that is quantitative. Whereas under the interpretive, the way the rules and other things that come to that the way it's carried out are in case studies and interviews and participant observation, non-participant observation, textual analysis, and so forth. Okay? Okay. I hope to shed more light on this in terms of the epistemology. Next, please. Let's spend a little bit of time looking at this. The left-hand side of this table and the right-hand side of this table describe the two paradigms that I have introduced to you just now, the positivistic and the interpretive. These are paradigms. We have different levels, okay? Paradigms are above theories. Theory is a collection of knowledge about a certain subject, collection of knowledge generated until the present time on a certain subject. That's the theory. Paradigm is above that. Paradigm is a worldview, okay? And theories come below paradigms. So let's look at the positivist, let's look at the interpretive paradigm first. I would like the one on the, oh, you have, I'm sorry, you have a slightly different titles from my PowerPoint here. Ignore ME, just call it positivism or positivistic paradigm. Just like the title also, I'm using positivistic paradigm, positivism versus constructivism. HE is the short form for hermeneutic. Hermeneutic is another term for interpretive. Interpretive is a little more user-friendly, you know, and it tends to be constructive. I'm going to come back to this and explain what do you mean by it is constructive. It's constructivism. So let's look at it. Reality is subjective. It applies only to you or to a limited context. It is not universal. It is subjective. There is no single reality. This is the epistemology. These are the way this particular paradigm looks at the world, looks at reality. This is what they believe in. That reality, there is no one single reality. There are multiple realities. Each one of us, each subject will look at reality in its own way. Okay, there's no single reality. The one on positivism says just the opposite. It says reality is objective, means what I see, she also sees. And we both see exactly the same thing. Carbon copy. Objective. All of you will see the same thing. Okay? The second point, or the third point in interpretive paradigm on the other side says, under the, next to Hogi, go up, no, go up. Higher, mele. Next to. Okay. Sorry, there is a little bit of a difference in what my talk is going to be the same, but the PowerPoints are not coming out exactly the same. So, okay. So what I was telling you earlier is reality is subjective. There's no, here it is, epistemological foundation, reality and knowledge are socially constructed, means it is subjective. Your reality is what you have constructed. Okay, you construct your reality. It is not universal. Whereas on this side, they say objective condition, reality is objective. All right, that is how they believe that. Now, they have a whole set of rules that will not violate this principle. And we are going to look at that on both sides, both the interpretive paradigm and the positivistic paradigm. So, for example, under the interpretive or under the constructivism, okay, I wish I had my PowerPoint, but when your reality is subjective and when you socially construct your reality, it means that that reality applies to you. Okay. In other words, reality exists in reference to the observer. That is another. Reality only exists to the extent that somebody is observing it, writing about it in human research. Now, that is the reason why qualitative people would say, I don't know. I don't know if it makes noise because it's not part of my reality. Now, you might think, oh, come on, don't argue for the sake of arguing. If something falls, it makes noise. No. Yes, probably. I don't know. Remember, I said it's a philosophical thing. But there are lots of topics in research that you and I in social sciences do. And when the choice of topics comes up, you will find that this tree falling and not making noise, not noise is very true. I'll give you one simple example. There are two college students, they're roommates, and they are same in age and attitude, and they're very similar to each other. And both are boys. Just imagine one goes to a comedy show. And I'm sorry, both of them go to a comedy show. And at the end of the show, one guy tells the other guy, oh my God, that show was so funny. Tumba maja banta pa. The other fellow says, no, it was not funny. It's possible, right? Two people, very similar in every way, go to the same comedy show, performed by the same actors. One says it was very funny, the tree made noise, and the other says, no, it's not funny to me. Chalta hai. No, it didn't make any noise. So there are lots of topics because in qualitative research, in interpretive research, we are interested not in a general reality, but in your reality. We do a case study. What do we study? We study about a specific case and their problems and their this and their that. You do a critical, in-depth interview of somebody for 2 hours. What do you do in the entire interview? You ask the opinions and attitudes about life and etc. from one person. Sir, what do you think about that, sir? Sir, in your experience, when you're doing this, everything is that person only. But that is good because this person is a big intellectual or a big actor or big politician, whatever, and we want to learn from his view of reality about leadership and, you know. So the topics are very different. Let's, okay. Reality are socially constructed. What is the goal? What is the outcome in the qualitative, or rather the interpretive paradigm? The only goal that you want in qualitative or in interpretive is to understand the subject as well as possible. That's all. If you're doing a case study of a village, your case study is all about understanding that village. Everything about its people, everything about the customs and lifestyles, just that village, nothing more. And then you present it. And so we listen to you, we read you. Okay. But then remember that everything you have said there is only about that village. So what is the goal? To understand that village as well as we can. Okay, that's all. There's no other goal. So in interpretive research, we are constantly interested in people's stories, people's lives, people's subjective experiences of grief, of happiness, of separation. These are all very important human, that both men and women have. And that's why we have great poets and great writers. What do? They capture the essence of human values and describe that. The only goal is to understand that as well as we can. Whereas on the left-hand side, which I will expand later, data is collected for a completely different purpose, not for understanding the data itself, but to use that data, produce the results, and then expand it to a larger area. When you do a survey, you don't survey everybody. You survey a limited number of people, and usually called representative sample, and there are rules. And then for example, all these public opinion surveys you read in the papers, or X percentage of people said this and Y percentage of people said that. So data is collected through some survey to questions, and the data is tabulated, and then they give you. Then what do? You no longer talk about that 1,000 people from whom you got the data. You will say the people of Karnataka, the voters in Karnataka, because those 1,000 people were selected from the population of voters in Karnataka. So, and then you have things like, how much of confidence do you have in that? There's a 5% difference. There's a 10% difference between these two candidates. Both are in dead heat. And then you can calculate all these different things. That is the job of what we call as quantitative methods, all right? So in their epistemology, not only can the reality be constructed so that everybody sees the same reality, because they say there is one reality. And then based on that, they collect data, and then they quantify, they run it through some statistical thing, and they come up with. So this is how they do that. There are a few other things that are not very important today, like bears responsibility for the consequences. That's another topic. Today, I really want to talk about epistemology. Next one, please. Yeah, this is what I have, and for some reason, the copy that I gave didn't have that. Okay, so what I want to do now is continue to talk about the interpretive method and see how that knowledge, that paradigm, how that influences the different methods they use to collect information under the so-called interpretive research. As you know, it's also called as the actual name. If you really wanted the real name of that, it's called hermeneutic empiricism. I constantly tell my students that anytime you come up with a term, 75% of the meaning of that is in the title itself, except that probably nobody explained that to you. Hermeneutic empiricism. Hermeneutic is interpretive, but what is empiricism? I'm sure you've heard of the term empirical methods. Anytime you want to support your argument with facts, also called as data, you are empirical. That is what empirical is. Okay? So philosophies dating back thousands of years have told us, you know, if you follow Charvaka philosophy, that preceded Hindu and Buddhist philosophies, Charvaka philosophy. Charvaka philosophy said everything, you know, has a cause. That's what they said. I'm not saying it. Everything has a cause. And so they believed that whatever you want to say, provide the evidence. Okay, fine. Evidence. Evidence is what? Data. Show me the data. All right. And so empiricism is going beyond yourself and actually collecting information in the form of data, asking people, 100 people, or asking one person, getting that information and recording it and analyzing it. It's empirical. Okay? We are all subjects of 5 ways in which we process: seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling. 5. This is the way in which we absorb reality. Empirical. These are 5 So same way, empirical. So empiricism is the study of empirical methods. So hermeneutic empiricism is, even these people have to collect data, but they don't call it data. They call it information. And they'll go out and they have their own methods. We're going to look at them, and they collect that information following the rules and the routines of the interpretive epistemology. Okay, now we'll come a little into communication now. How do we express our reality? Okay, you and I and groups of us. How do we express? We mainly express our reality through what we do, social practice. We do all kinds of things, which is, you know, we do. That's a social practice. Yesterday, before we started, we lit a lamp. Why? In the United States, when we start any program, we don't light lamps. Right? Why? That's what we do. So there are lots of things we do. That's why we call it social practice. Why do we have cows roaming all the streets in Mysore? You have not a single cow in US. That doesn't mean cows are not there. There are lots of cows, but they don't walk on the street. Why? Why do they walk in Mysore? Because they do. We don't care. if cows walk? Do you care? American, yeah. My insurance costs so many dollars. If I hit that cow, so much of damage to my car. In India, no, we say, hey, 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 hey. And then we drive around. We do social practices. So there are lots of things us around the world do. We express our reality through those social practices. And then through semiotic practices. Semiology is about the use of signs, S-I-G-N, signs. Our language is a sign. Signs and symbolic instruments. Language that we read and write and speak is a signal. I speak in Hindi, it's a signal if you know Hindi. I speak in Kannada, it's a signal to you if you know Kannada. If you don't know Kannada, nimage Kannada gotta. You know, the famous, every Kannadiga knows one thing. Kannada gotta, because there are a lot of people in Bangalore, you know. You don't know who these people in Bangalore are. Where they come from, you don't know. You walk on a street and you hear a United Nations of languages. I love Bangalore, by the way, but still. Some of the new areas, they belong to the world, not India. Bangalore belongs to the world. Really, it's a global city in some areas, like east of Bangalore, you know. Anyway, this is not about Bangalore, it's about epistemology. And so we will come back here. Semiotic practices are many things, are languages and other things that we write, we draw. Artists, how do they represent reality? Through drawing, right? What about the beautiful rangoli? You know, I'm sure you didn't think about it, but I wonder every morning about rangolis. Because where I live, there are no rangolis. People don't go every morning and draw intricate, beautiful patterns. And when the Ram temple idol was being consecrated, I walked around some streets in Mysore, just looking at the rangolis. It's very interesting how the creativity of some people was in terms, but so we use semiotic practices. The fact that you wear certain clothes and certain shoe is also a signal, okay, to the other person. So we represent reality, okay, through, you see all the young people today, look around the room, they have pants that taper. Now look at any man above the age of 40, they have pants that expand. Why? That's how they look at reality. Young men wear tracksuits. Have you seen older people in Mysore wearing tracksuits? No. I have worn tracksuits in Mysore and I decided never to wear them. Because some young boy saw me one day in tracksuit. Hey, no. It's almost like I was walking naked, you know. Because I was not supposed to wear track pants. Because his view of reality is, you are a Buddha. You should be, if I was with a walking stick, they would have been very happy. Oh, this fellow is going in track pant and acting like, you know, Bollywood actor. Hey, no. So anyway, I'm sorry, I lisp into Kannada because of the live audience here. Semiotic practices and material conditions. Material, okay? We all wear footwear. I don't think there's anybody in this classroom today without footwear. Okay? That tells something about your material condition. We live in certain kinds of houses. Our houses have certain kinds of gadgets. You know, there's a lot of our reality that we show through our material. Anyway, so, oops. This is how reality is constructed. You know, these are some ways in which if we do that. So continuing this point, hermeneutic or interpretive research says there are 3 domains in which we gather knowledge, or which is possible to gather: the material domain, the biological domain, and the semiotic domain. I think I just went over that. I went over for you just now the material as well as the semiotic. What is biological domain? There's another reality. You, me. So I know my body, I feel my body, so you do too, and I believe in a certain reality of my body. So there's a biological domain. There's also, when 2 females talk about their biology, it's a similar domain. Even though there is, like, you 2 are separate, but still you're connected because you're a female, okay? So we also get a reality. I am a woman. I am an older woman. I'm a younger woman, okay? And that is the third one, the biological domain. And what we think, the kinds of knowledge we have, the attitudes we have about things, we show it to the world through our actions. There is a logical connection, or it can be established, between what we feel, our values, our thoughts, and how we act. Okay? Unless we act, and this is from yesterday's, unless we act, you will never know what we think and do. The action is the fruit of the whole thing. And so we go ahead and we do something. We talk about it. Or we go on a strike, or we do a morcha, whatever, we gather in, we show it through our behavior. Or, you know, through behavior. And this behavior is expressed a lot in our lives through semiotic practices. You see, we talked of semiology as science, but semiotic domain, they look at stories. We all have stories to tell. When there's a great artist in town, All India Radio will go and interview her. When there is an academic who has done some work for 40 years, St. PHILOMENA'S will invite him and have a 2-day conference. You see? Why? Because they want to know and share the reality of that person, you know. And so a community tells its stories through its heroes and heroines, through its past history, through its cultural practices. What we do, we practice. And performance. Performance also is a way in which performance doesn't have to be dancing or thing. Performance can be, I am performing now. I'm performing now. This is performance. So performance is any time you go out and perform. Okay? And this is how human behavior is normally, this is how reality is expressed through behavior. And behavior is further modified through your interactions and your relationships with others. You don't live alone in this world. You live with other people, groups. You are a member of many, many groups, from family to your college, to your political association, to your caste, to your language. You are a member of many, many groups, and they affect who we are. Okay? A famous theorist, unrelated to this, said, under symbolic interactionism, I am what I think you think I am. Really, write it down and go home and think about it. I am what you think I am. So many times our relationships are like mirrors. You go in front of the mirror, what do you do? Of course, depends on your age. If you see a mirror here, you look. Yeah. But mirror gives you a reflection of yourself, right? So similarly, your relationship with some people tells you who you are socially, culturally. And therefore, what does all this make? The human agency. The agency, each human being and groups of human beings are agents of culture, are agents in society, okay? And hermeneutic research is all about studying them, okay? That is, what are some of the methods that are used in qualitative research under the hermeneutic method? We have participant observation, we have interview, and within each one of them, there are many types. Next, please. We have referential analysis, textual analysis, critical analysis. Yesterday, I did critical analysis. What I did was mostly comes under critical analysis, and that was interpretive method, where I was taking a point of view of how the reality in third world countries was being represented by people who didn't know. So that's the point I was trying to make. So these are some of the methods in, so male hogi, male, opposite, male, inu male. I'll tell you, keep going. Oh, yeah, 1 second. Stop there. I don't know. I'm sorry about this mix-up in the PowerPoints. I thought I had a thing, but this is good. This is good. I'm coming back to a slide that I showed you earlier, and I now want to switch and talk about the epistemology of positivistic research that we often talk about as quantitative research. Okay, so let's spend a few minutes here talking about this. There's a single reality. So how do these people do this? These so-called people who do surveys and they believe that there's a single reality. So exactly how does it work? In the case of physics and chemistry, where they use these methods, simple, zinc. There's only one zinc. There's the same zinc in India, there's the same zinc in US. And when you put sulfuric acid on zinc, it will produce the same gas in US, on the North Pole, on the South Pole. But we don't deal with zinc. We deal with human beings who are not the same, because we have, remember the fish and the water yesterday? We are a representation, besides many other things, of our social practices and our cultural practices. And so let me just dive into this quantitative. How do they do this when they say there's a single reality? Under epistemology, as you can see on the left-hand side, it says precision of some independent objective condition. Okay, I'm going to take the example of content analysis, which is one of the methods in that is used, and I'll take an example from there to illustrate some of the points that I'm making here. How do you construct the same reality? Okay, this researcher is doing a content analysis and looking at the amount of violence, physical violence, there is in videos. Okay, just imagine television videos, you know, breaking things, violence. And you want to compare video, I'm just making up this, I'm making up this example. You want to compare the videos of prime time videos from US and India. Okay, I made up one. We want to compare. So we collect a sample of videos from US prime time video, sample of videos Indian prime time. We want to now see how violence. That is just study you want to do. All right. First thing you have to do is everything you're going to be studying has to be specified to the most precise point. Precision of some independent objective condition. First of all, what are you doing? I'm looking at the amount of violence in videos. Okay? First question would be, what is violence? What is violence in your video? Remember, this is not interpretive research. In interpretive research, violence can be if somebody looked at you with a I will kill you kind of look. That's violence, right? No, here, what is violence? You have to provide a specific definition of violence. And only that definition will count. Any other definition of that violence, for my study, I'm not considering it. What have you done? You have reduced the reality of violence to one specific way of looking at violence, because each study is going to have 100 coders. You know who coders are? They look and they write down, they are coders. So the coders will be given these instructions so that every one of the 100 coders is looking at the same reality. That's your objective. George Gerbner, Professor George Gerbner has done, he's no more, has done thousands and thousands of content analysis. He came up with a definition, what we call as conceptual definition of violence. He said, you guys, this is what is violence. Two people or more. If you see what you're watching in the video, two people or more interact and there is body contact. Like, example, somebody hits the other person. There's body contact, right? There's body contact and or contact with an instrument, gun, bullet, bat, okay? Between a body part and an instrument, with the intention to hurt, damage, or kill. That's his definition. Anything else is not violence. So when you're coding, you're going to look, oh, okay, there are these two guys. Okay, what's going to happen? Oh, one guy hits him. According to the definition, it is violence, right? And so they're trained on that. So with the intention to hurt, I'll come and hug you. Body contact. But all I do is, I love you. That's not violence, right? According to the definition. So this is one example. Think of this in all the first thing you do in quantitative research, in positivistic, is you get your definitions down. Basically, what you're doing is you're constructing your own reality. So now and then you train them. You run several training sessions to make sure everybody has understood with some sample material. And then you weed out people who are, there are some people who just don't listen to you, right? You weed them out, and then you come up with a 90% intercoder reliability. That is, 9 out of 10 coders see the same thing. Only when you get 90% reliability, okay, the real study starts. So one example here is where the reality has been described to a specific. Let me take another example, and I use this example a lot in the United States. Until about 10 years ago, most Americans didn't know much about a mango. Okay, so I used to use this example a lot. Okay, I'm going to take you to the grocery store, and I'm not going to come in. Go straight to the fruit section. One shot, I'm waiting here. One shot, pick up a mango and come back. And that person will say, excuse me, what is a mango? Oh, mango. Mango is this big. Sometimes it's like this. Sometimes it's this big. But yeah. It's red. No. It's red, yellow. It can also be green. Oh, it has a shape, a certain shape, pear shape kind of thing. And that fellow goes and picks up an orange and brings it back. Hey, I found a mango. Hey, Baba, this is not mango, this is an orange. That's what's happening here. This is violence. This is violence. If you go pick up an orange and bring it back, your reality. So in quantitative methods, in positivism, in physics, in chemistry, we define it and train it. Okay, so that is how that is done. Then the next question is, what is media? What is media? And then you have to define. Media in this study are television shows between 2002 January and 2003 January on the following networks, and that are labeled as television shows. That if this definition is met, that's a television show. See, everything, it's not violence you see on the street when you're coming to the office. It's violence only in those videos. So that's the first thing they do. They look at reality and they break it down to a small slice of reality and come up with all kinds of definitions. Then they come up with what is the independent variable and what is the dependent variable. Independent variable is the one that is supposed to be causing something else. If mosquito bites you, a certain mosquito, you will get malaria. Mosquito is the causal agent. Malaria is the consequence. Just an example. But in human research, we do have trouble with causality. But anyway, for this, all we are doing is we are looking at amount of violence in US videos and Indian videos and comparing them. So independent variable is the number of acts of violence that you see in the program that you're analyzing. Number of acts of violence. Everything has to be, one of the things in positivistic method is they are very, very strict about definitions and counting. Everything has to be exact. You can't deviate even a little bit because that is what the epistemology says. So for example, let's go back to violence. Sir, in one video I saw that this man was pulling that man's hair and yelling at him. Yeah, that's violence. Count it. The other fellow says, sir, I saw this fellow stabbing a knife into his heart. Yeah, that's violence too. But these are two different kinds of violence, right? So you come up with categories of major violence, minor violence. So you have to say, what is major violence? Kicking somebody is minor violence. Killing somebody is major violence, like that. You have, everything has to be detailedly laid out, all right? And you can also, in your quantitative study, do a lot of other things. Who is the person inflicting the violence first? Is it an older man or a younger man? Is it a man or a woman? Who is the victim? Man or woman? Older man or younger man? Black man or white man? You can collect all this data, right? That's how we come up with results of how different minorities are shown on television, you know? So you can collect a lot of data. Dependent variable is the other variable. That is, violence is one. How often are they shown in the media? That's the dependent variable, okay? So you always have definitions, independent variable, dependent variable, and then you have all kinds of other things like reliability analysis, validity analysis. You know, reliability analysis is the instruments that are using to collect data, are they reliable? For example, take a weighing machine. I step on the weighing machine, it tells me I'm 155 pounds, I'm 72 kgs. After 5 minutes, I step on it again. My weight should be very close to 72 kgs, no? If it shows 82 kgs, something is wrong. Or I managed to eat very quickly a dozen bananas. You know, I don't know, something has happened. Okay. Reliability is your measurements have to be stable. And validity is yet another concept in quantitative methods where they say, are you sure you're measuring what you're supposed to measure? That's called validity, okay? In the case of the mango and the orange, I'm not measuring it because instead of orange, instead of mango, I'm getting orange. So that's very simple, right? But in the case of qualitative research, it is, I'll tell you of a funny example. You're all old enough. I guess you're all about 18 years of age. But this is a survey I did in India. All surveys have one column called sex. And there's one box. And it says M. There's another box. It says F. Okay? This is a Melkote joke that has become reality. Most people tick either M or F. One person ticked M and said, oh, only if I have to. And F, he ticked that also and said, all the time. What's happening here? I am collecting data on, are you a male? Are you a female? What is this fellow writing? Do I have sex with males or do I have sex with female? This man doesn't like to have sex with other males, but he doesn't mind having sex with females. What is happening? Am I measuring what I am supposed to measure? No. So I changed my surveys 25 years ago. I never write sex, I write gender. Of course, today everybody writes gender, but till about 1990, this gender window was not there. It was simple sex, okay? That is what I mean by. And this is not as easy. This is just a joke I told you. When we do studies, many times we don't know if we are actually measuring what we are, and there are tests. So there are multiple tests in quantitative methods because precision of some objective precision is very important. What is the goal? We talked about the goal in interpretive, that is to understand better. All we do is thick description. But here the goal is to explain. There's a very big difference between the two. Description is what I see, I think, I'm writing, I'm talking. Explanation is I'm going to use this and explain something about something else based on this. So all quantitative research, the objective is to generalize the results to a larger population. All the surveys that you read in the papers or in the news, so many people said this, so many, majority of Indians feel this way, majority of Indian women feel that way. They didn't collect information from all the women and all the men. They didn't. They collected information only from a precise sample of people. And then using that mathematical principle, how they selected the sample from that population, they generalize it to the population. Okay? And so the objective is to explain and good quantitative research goes beyond explanation to the next stage, prediction. Based on what I know, I will tell you in the future what will happen. That is called prediction. Okay? Physical sciences can do it all the time. Okay? So they will tell you, if you put sulfuric acid on zinc, then this will happen. Okay? And they will predict, oh, if I go to New Zealand and put sulfuric acid on zinc, I'll get the same thing? Yeah, go. Go take a first-class ticket and go to New Zealand and throw some sulfuric acid on some zinc. You'll find exactly the same thing. Unfortunately or fortunately, that is not true in human research, because we are not pieces of zinc or anything. We are thinking, speaking entities, human beings. We have values, we have emotions, we have history, we have culture. So in human research, so explanation, prediction is very important. I don't know how many of you watch weather news on video, television. I watch weather news all the time because I come from a country, I live in a country where the change in weather is very severe. Okay? In summer, it'll be like here, 34, sometimes 35, 36. Winter, it is minus 20. Minus 20. Before you leave, they will tell you how long it will take for you to die. If you were just walking, that is, if you're not getting into a car or a bus and you were not wearing clothes, warm clothes, this will take how much time you die. Hey, it's important. Because if you drink too much and come in the night and you lose your consciousness, that is how much time it will take for you to die, my friend. But you will die happy, I think. No, I don't know. That was just a joke. I don't drink much, so please. So weather news is very important for me. I'm always checking weather. Then you wonder, how do they know that tomorrow it's going to snow? Then man will say, oh, Bowling Green will have 30% chance of snow tomorrow. How do they know? Of course, 30% is not much. If they say, tomorrow, there's a 90% chance that Bowling Green will get snow, you bet your mother and father it is going to snow tomorrow. But how did they know? A magician, Gogia Pasha. Ooh, no. There's science. They study amount of moist air, amount of dry air, They study wind pattern. They study temperature. They put all of these things together in a field called meteorology. And they say, when wet air meets dry air, under these temperature conditions, it will rain. Okay? Prediction. We have not come to that stage in interpretive research where we can study and make prediction. Interpretive research never makes predictions because it is not supposed to. It's not going to say if a tree falls in the middle of the night, it will make noise. You can't say that. Though probably if you went there, it is because we are not talking of trees falling in the night. We are talking of regular things, how people feel about this, how people think about that. And so what else have we? Yeah. So under positivism, there's lots and lots of rules you have to follow. And everything is counted. Okay? Can you go down, please? Yeah, let's go down. More. Next one. Yeah, I went over some of these things just now. Okay? Independent variable, dependent variable, conceptual definition. In the study example I gave you, violence is a conceptual definition. Violence. What is violence? Conceptual definition. Look up a dictionary. Dictionary will tell you what? Again, there is physical violence. There is emotional violence. But let's just talk of physical violence. The dictionary will tell you. But in your study, you need to come up with a operational definition. In my study, in this study that you are doing, 2 or more people, when they come and interact, is there a body contact or a contact with an instrument with the intention to damage, destroy, hurt, or kill? That is the conceptual definition, doesn't matter. Okay? Data are quantified, obviously. And this type of research, positivism, claims to be value-free. In other words, everything is supported by data. It's not what I think. Okay? So it is not, the results are not dependent on my value. And in fact, we have something called extraneous variables. You will have to take a quantitative methods class, because it'll just going to shoot my time. So they do a lot of these things very, very carefully, and they run, next one please, run statistical tests. So now what I want to do, okay, fine. Just very quickly go with you in terms of, if you are doing a study, what are some of the typical stages? Again, doesn't mean every time you have this, but this is some kind of a guide. So you come up with the introduction of what you want to do. You know that. You always have to have an introduction. And then next one. Oh, introduction. First of all, what kind of a study are you doing? Is it best served by a positivistic paradigm, or is it best served by an interpretive paradigm? That's very important. Okay. What are you looking at? I am looking at how certain groups of people in society are shown on TV. Okay. So what exactly are you going to do? No, I want to see on our general television how men are depicted, how women are shown. George Gerbner did a lot of this stuff. He showed in the 1960s that men get 70% of being in front of the camera. Women get less than 30%. For example, today you might find in our films are all about young people. Old people are hardly shown. Okay? You don't see a lot of sick people on our entertainment shows. Have you noticed that? Not that because there are no sick people. There are lots of sick people. Yeah. So if you look at television, what are the images that are shown? Then you can understand the value of that culture. Oh, lot of male, very few. And if females are shown, they're shown as sex symbols. Okay. All of this is done through content analysis. How are they shown? So, oh, you're going to show all this? Oh, okay. So, all right. You're going to be counting and you have definition for all of these things. Yes. And then you're going to train them. You're going to collect them. So you collect. I think you better do a quantitative study. Okay. Qualitative paradigm. No, I'm not counting. I don't want to count. I want to talk to victims of violence, people who have been victimized in society by physical violence. And I want to write about them. I want to do research about them, about their experiences, you know, what kinds of, I know it's a very difficult topic, what kinds of violence they had to, you know, think I want to write. Oh, okay. You better do a qualitative interpretive paradigm, because you're not counting anything, you're not generalizing it, you're not predicting it. Okay, you're just trying to describe something so that we all get a good idea about that. Quality, that's very important. And next, please. Yeah, next one. This is a repeat of what I've been telling you. This is the PowerPoint I was initially reading out of, and we had, on the left is positivistic research. Reality is singular and objective. On the other side, reality is constructed by the person, socially constructed. Okay? And for example, reality in city of Mysore is having cows roaming. Reality in Bowling Green, no cows roaming. If a cow is roaming, immediately there'll be a call to the zoo and they'll come in. Of course, it's very difficult for animals to come because there are fences. Reality in Mysore is, you know, this is not, please, an argument against Mysore. I love Mysore also. I jog. Now, because of age, I've kind of reduced, but I'm a jogger. I realized 10 years ago, you do not jog in Mysore when it is dark. Okay? Like 5:30 in the morning, I mean, it gets light in Mysore at 6:20. Why? Oh, there are a lot of people who, no, it's not people. Dogs. So this is a problem for you guys. You have to better figure out. Dogs in the night, they guard the street. And if you go without a stick or something, you'll be attacked. I've been attacked 2 times in Mysore. You know, so you got to be very careful. And there are 6, 7, 8 sitting there, you know, like wolves. You know, that's impossible in Bowling Green. If my dog bit somebody, you know how many dollars I will get sued? I may have to mortgage my house again. So reality is socially constructed, is the point I'm trying to make. And these are some other ideas about the positivistic and the interpretive. I want you to, please, want you to add it to what I'm saying. Okay, now there's an important thing that I did not talk about. What is the role of the researcher in these two? How should they behave? Under the positivistic, they cannot influence the study in any way. They just have to follow the definitions. And everything they do is tested for reliability. So They must avoid personal perspective and bias. Whereas in the other one, that is the study. Personal perspective is the study, okay? And so there they write about why do you have that perspective, your attitudes, your values, your beliefs that lead to that perspective, you know. So in other words, under the positivistic process, the researcher is just a bystander, somebody who's just standing there and watching. Things are happening. You just watch. Whereas interpretive research, they go into it. So quantitative research, they collect the data as per the survey schedule. They're not going to change the questions. Hey, I'm not going to ask this question of this guy because I don't want to. No, you've got to ask all the questions in the same order and say it the same way with everybody. In other words, your job is just to do what is out there, okay? Oh, this man, poor man, he doesn't know how to express his feelings. Let me express his feelings. Let me. You can't. You cannot do that, okay? Whereas on the other hand, in interpretive research, that's what the study is about. You know, the researcher goes to the place where data needs to be collected. If I want to do a case study of a village, I go and live in that village for a few weeks. Okay? If I'm a very, very good researcher, I live in that village, I eat with the villagers, I make friends with some of them. Okay? Whereas if I was a positivistic researcher, I will come to the village with a questionnaire. Okay, and I'll collect my data and I'm gone. So researchers should make direct experiential contact with the phenomena under study and put themselves in the real situation, because that's what you're there for. Finally, in positivistic research, you take the data and you generalize it to a larger entity. But here, you confine it to that place where you got your data from, or to that person, okay? Facts have no meaning when they are isolated from that situation. So you need to give the entire, describe the whole thing. So you do, next please. So the researchers have, and these are some strengths and weaknesses. Again, it depends on what you want to achieve from your study. Do you want to generalize it? Are you doing an opinion survey of this, counting this, these number of people with this, that would come on, with the strength. You have to do a quantitative study, and then you have to choose a good sample. Then you may be able to use statistics to generalize and make predictions. You can do all of those things, and that is very important. Whereas in interpretive research, that is not important. We are just trying to understand the situation as well as we can. Okay, next please. Choice of topics. I think I've gone over this, but let's see what it has. Choice of topics. Go ahead. Next one. Oops. Choice of topics. Okay. I've gone over this for you. You take a phenomenon, you operationally define it, you come up with the measurement. Okay. If you want to measure my height is a concept. So a dictionary will tell you height is how tall a person is. That's all it will tell you. That's conceptual. But then based on that, I cannot do a study. Suppose I want to compare the heights of males in this room with females in this room. I want to see. I have to know what your weight is. I can't say, oh, height is how tall you are. Oh, please stand up. Okay. Sit down. You stand up, please. No. I will make marking on the wall, you know, in terms of your height. Of course, you do it in centimeters and meters. We do inches and feet. 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. And, you know, please go stand against the wall. Okay, stand with your head straight, please, and just stand straight. Okay, then okay, you're 5 feet 9 inches. Next, please. So what are we doing? Height has been operationally defined as your score on the scale of height. On the scale of height, you are 5 feet 9 inches. She is 5 feet 10 inches. He is 6 feet 1 inch. Everybody is measured height in the same way because that's operationally defined. So whereas in interpretive research, we don't deal with those kinds of things, okay? It's the experience that we're interested in. All right, next one. Here are some terms that you're going to come across in positivistic research. On the left, I already talked about variables, independent variables, dependent variables, okay? A variable is anything that varies. Height is a concept. All of us have height, but we have different heights, right? And so he is 6 feet 1 inch, 6 feet 1. She is 5 feet 4, 5 feet 3, okay, 5 feet 10. So what happens to height? Your height varies. Your score varies from each person to person. So we have variables, and we have dependent variables. We have a hypothesis in quantitative research, positivistic research, where based on previous research theory, we make a statement. And then we want to see if our data will support that statement, a hypothesis. For example, I'm just making this up. I don't know, but I'm making this up. There will be more violence in American videos when compared with Indian videos. That's a hypothesis. What am I doing? I'm making a statement. Now my data has to show that. If my data shows that, my hypothesis is supported. If my data does not show that, my hypothesis is not supported, right? So hypothesis is very important. We talked about operational definition. We talked of reliability, and we talked of validity. Whereas in interpretive research, we're looking at meanings. We're looking at human agents. We're looking at people who are agents of their behavior. We're trying to map their experiences, their realities. We look at cultural artifacts. For example, that Rangoli I told you is a cultural artifact. In textual analysis, we study some of the elements of the text. So these are some terms that you're going to come across when you, next please. One more. Results, I think I went over some of this with you. In the case of qualitative or interpretive research, it's just a description of what has happened, and you provide a faithful description. Nothing more than that. You know, you have done a depth interview with a great writer, okay? And that great writer in 3 hours of interview will tell you lots of things about herself. After you're done with your study, your job is to describe faithfully what that person, her life, and so on. You can't say all poets are like that, or all writers are like that. You can't say that. It's only in her case what I'm saying. I can't say all poets think the same way. Okay, so whatever I do is just for that case. We want to understand our world, and everybody is different. Whereas here, it's not that. We will collect data from 1,000 people, but we'll generalize it to 1,000,000 people within certain limits of error. Now you will see now with your Lok Sabha elections, how they're going to say that this particular candidate has a 5% advantage over that candidate. How do they come to know this? It's all statistical analysis. They'll run numbers and say, he is running, he's got 10% more support than his opposing candidate. Exit interviews say that he will win. You know, they can say such things. And they do that by collecting data from people and running it through some kinds of thing and then doing an analysis. But here they don't do that. They do not generalize in interpretive research. That's not part of their religion. That's not part of their work. Next one. Yeah, as I told you, one of the things why a lot of bureaucratic research is done quantitatively is because they want data for a large entity. Okay? And that's why quantitative research is preferred in bureaucratic, in organizations, in government, you know, because it can be, numbers can show what the difference is, and you can have a very clear documentation of everything, you know, and for example, if the government, you know, introduces a certain, let's say, bus service from point A to point B, they'll do a survey after 6 months to see your satisfaction with that bus service. They will select maybe 100, 200, 300 of people who say they use that bus service on a regular basis. Not everybody. They will collect data from them about how much you like, don't like. And then they will generalize it and say, they'll no longer say these 500 people said, they'll say, the users of this service said that they like this, they don't like that. The government wants to know that because they have introduced a facility and they want to know if the public likes it or doesn't like it. So government and other organizations, they do a lot of these things. But of late, big organizations now are doing a lot of qualitative research too, because they need to know more about samples of people, small groups of people, and how they feel. So these days, there is more and more qualitative research also being done along with quantitative research. Okay. Okay, next one. This weakness, you know, I'm going to take this with a pinch of salt. In a bad quantitative study, not done well, you can have all kinds of problems. Your questionnaire is not good. For example, my questionnaire, sex MF, was not good. I was not collecting information on gender. I was collecting information on something else. So my questionnaire has to be repaired. So like that, all the instruments that are used on the left-hand side, you can do a good job with it. You can do a poor job with it. Your statistical analysis was not correct, like that. Whereas you can also have weaknesses in qualitative research. Maybe your your information collection is very sloppy. Your error checks are not good, So you can also, yeah. Finally, I would like to end this. Now what is happening in graduate schools in US, and I can only talk about that, is that mixed methods research is gaining a lot of popularity. Mixed methods, as you can see, is a combination of the two. Not exact combination, some parts of this with some parts of that. For example, let me give you an example. Many years ago, I had a doctoral student, and his study was on a very controversial topic, but I was the supervisor, right? And so I had to guide. His study was on the content of pornographic films. Hey, that's fine. We are a department of communication. You have to do it. Do it, you have to do it. I said, fine, and don't worry about it. Sir, is it okay, sir? I said, what do you think I am? I'm also like you, no. It's okay, it's fine. Do it. When he did his study, he chose 150 university undergraduate students and surveyed them on amount of pornography they watch, types of pornography they watch, and it was a beautiful study, okay? There was one person on his committee who was not quantitative. She was completely qualitative. Actually, she was a poet. But she was on his committee. He made the decision to have her on his committee. So she said at one of the meetings, she said, boy, you have lots of good data here, but I'm not getting any feeling for how the consumer of that video felt about certain situations in the pornography that was shown. How did they feel about it? Did they like it? Did they not like it? What did they like? And how did they feel about it? He is looking at me. Well, not my study, it's your study. You answer her. There's a lot of data here, lots of numbers, but at the end of the day, they are numbers. They're just numbers. Put some body and put some flesh into those numbers. So she said, I'm not asking you to do a lot of things. I'm just asking you, you have how many people on your sample? Oh, I have 650 students. Okay. Select 10 students. And I don't care who you select. Just go inni, mini, minor, mo, father, header, whatever, and select 10. Contact them and say, can I sit and have a long interview with you on this topic? And then go and interview them and do an interpretive research on what they told you. He did it. And that was so good because now, besides the numbers, there was human values and feelings and opinions. So she said, now the numbers mean something. I can understand these numbers. So a lot of people, what they're doing, if your topic allows you, some parts of your study, you can do a qualitative study, okay? However, let me warn you that be careful when you choose mixed methods research, because professors are mostly quantitative or qualitative. You say I'm both, they'll beat you up. No, literally, I mean, not physically beat you. They will rag you. How could you say that? Excuse me? And as soon as you explain to that, the other things, but excuse me, but you said that, you said this. They will tease you. They'll tease you a lot. Maybe it's getting better because the younger professors these days are using mixed methods. Okay? So you could, some parts of your study where you want interpretation and description, and you think that is helpful to you, then you can incorporate those under mixed methods. Okay? But as I said, it can be risky because sometimes they'll fail you, you know, because you didn't do quantitative properly, or they'll fail you because you didn't do qualitative properly, because we all go through several years of PhD study, okay? And in our PhD, we are told again and again and again by our professors, this is right, that is wrong. Okay, we are told, and we are all part of our socialization. Then a student comes and does both, and that doesn't go, you know. So it can be a little risky, but if you do it well, it can definitely benefit your case. So I think I'm going to stop there, and the floor is yours.
I think it was an excellent session, and the start was just, posing that enduring question and thereby bringing everybody back to this, or bringing everybody's attention to positivist and interpretative research, and taking us through both qualitative and quantitative methods, thereby concretizing certain aspects of both of these kind of research. It was an enlightening session. Thank you, sir. Now it's time for discussion. Questions, the ones who are online. If there is a question or a comment, either you can leave it in the chat box, or you can raise hand, unmute yourself and ask the question. So whichever way is fine. Either leave a comment in the chat box or unmute yourself and go ahead for the question. Thank you. And for the audience here, you can raise hand and the mic will be circulated around. Thank you.
Hello, sir. My question is, it's you said that your student collected 600 samples, right? In quantitative research. So again, your like qualitative professor said that to choose any 10 members within that, will it make that research like not more credible, or it will dilute the research? No, because all those 600 people are representing the student community. Then again, choosing only 10 members within that, it might dilute the quality of whole research.
It's
I think.
credible, you said. This
Yeah.
is going back to the tree in the forest make noise or not. It's back to the same thing, because somebody who says the tree makes noise cannot believe that somebody says, I don't know, right? So it's the same thing. So it's the idea of credibility differs between the quantitative and the qualitative. For quantitative person, credibility is only in terms of how well I collected data, how I followed all the rules, okay, how I made my definitions. My definitions were all perfect, tested, pre-tested, tested, okay? Can you find any fault in anything I did? If so, please tell me. And so they talk in terms of not credibility, they talk in terms of reliability of the data. They talk in terms of validity of the data. That's what they're interested in. Whereas in qualitative research, they're interested in issues like, they're not interested in reliability. They're interested in credibility. So in that particular case, these numbers said a lot of things. X number of people said in my survey that they enjoy these kinds of videos. Y number of percentage of people said they don't enjoy, and etc., etc., etc. It gives me a lot of information, but I am not getting any feel. And when one person, even if it's just one person from that 600 tells you, this is how I feel, that's real, because that person is telling you, this is how I feel. And you're telling me that what you're feeling is not correct? Actually, there's a term for that. It's called gaslighting. It's called gaslighting. And as communicators, you must be very careful. There are lots of people who gaslight you, who tell you that what you are thinking about yourself is wrong. They tell you that, and you say, Acha. So gaslighting is, I am telling you how I feel. I'm not telling you how you feel. And that is credible. Okay. And so these 10 people or 15 people who are selected, they said, and so when it is written up, they don't say this is how all the 650, they don't say, they do not generalize. They just say, this is how some people felt. This is what they felt. This is how they felt. And so remember, go back to qualitative research, it's about describing reality of certain people, or who you talk to. So they are very different. They don't want to generalize. It is credible for those 10 people.
So we have a question online.
Oh.
Could you please elaborate from Mr. Mohammed Swaleh? Professor Melkote, could you please elaborate a bit on methodological triangulation in mixed method research setting?
I did touch upon this triangulation, but I didn't put it in a triangle for you. I put it in a the problem. Well, it's good. It's good. But how do you execute mixed research? It can be tricky. Okay. Because at least until now, at least during my professional period, researchers were specialized as quantitative researchers or specialized as qualitative, that is interpretive researchers. And you're taking two established methodologies and you're trying to conflate them together. And that's where you might run into problems. You may, again, it's very difficult. I think the best way to do that is have some parts of your study to be done interpretively, and some parts of your study, if you have the time and the energy to do that, quantitatively and positivistically. I don't think you can completely mishmash it, because then you'll be violating the principles of the quantitative method, violating the principle. For example, we had a question from the floor that said, if you select 10 people from your respondents and ask them how they felt about the pornography, and he's asked me, do you think it is credible? You'll run into those kinds of things because you're going against the foundations of the epistemology. Okay. But actually, since you've asked me this question, let me answer that in a slightly different way. Actually, most research is mixed research. I'm not trying to confuse you now. Because if you even look at quantitative researchers, okay, there are parts of their research process that are completely qualitative. For example, how did you choose your topic? Or rather, why did you choose your topic? If a quantitative researcher has asked that question, hey, you have a good topic, but why did you choose that topic? How are you going to answer that? It has to be an interpretive answer, because I liked it. Because I think it's important. So the initial stages of every quantitative research, that is, before you get into hypothesis formation, it tends to be very qualitative. You do literature review in one area and not another area. Okay? Why? That's what I wanted to do. You don't judge me on that. You judge me on the quality of my hypothesis. But how did you come up with that? So, for example, you need good imagination to come up with a good topic. Some people come up with some very good topics. And that's imagination. And that is a creative process. That is a qualitative process. Okay? And so there are aspects, even in quantitative, Similarly, there are aspects in qualitative research that are quantitative. For example, I go to my physical therapist. On the first day I go to my physical therapist, she has a chart on the board, 10 faces. On the left, the first face is smiling. And then goes, and the last face is crying. 10 faces. So she will ask me, compared to yesterday, where are you? Are you? Or are you? Then I'll go, I am there. Beside each face is a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She will write down, he is at number 4 today. Tomorrow when I come, she will ask me again. And then I'll say, I'm at 6 today, or 3 today, So in qualitative research also, what they do a lot of the times is, they transfer that data into numbers. Because in bureaucratic research, in organizational research, they want to see numbers. Because there is this innate bias, if I may say, that numbers are very precise. Words are not. So both are there. But coming back to your question, yes, it is being done a lot now, and there are some good examples of the triangulation in this process.
So there's one more question from Dr. Anisha. The challenge is in the initial stage when student present the proposal in front of doctoral committee or ethics committee. Everyone has a different understanding of this approach. How to deal with this? Well,
you have to deal with it because you selected these people to be on your committee. And that is your human challenge. Ask anybody who has done a PhD and how they had to navigate through the process. But on a more serious level, these are things you have to get out of the way before you actually start your study. Because your committee consists of professors with different training, different biases, okay? But some things that you raised are not an issue. You talk of ethics. In most research that is done today within institutions, your topic has to clear the ethics committee first. In US, we call it as the Human Subjects Review Board. That's one of the names, Human Subjects Review Board. Your topic and your proposal will go to the Human Subjects Review Board in your university. They are not your committee members. They will judge on the ethical part of your thing. Are people being hurt in your study? Are the people being hurt physically, mentally, emotionally? Are you using children in your research? Usually doing research with minors, you have to be very careful because children, like that, Are you collecting data in your study on illegal drug use? Yes, I am. How are those people who are consuming that illegal drug being protected? Will their identity be known to the police? These are all ethical issues. And so even in India, we have an institutional review board, IRB, which has to go through your proposal and clear you of the ethical issues. And ethical issues can be very subtle. Okay? For example, let me give you one example of a very simple thing. And you think that, oh, what's wrong with this study? This was done a lot in introductory psychology classes up to middle 1960s. So they will do an experiment in a psychology class. You know, like I have a volunteer. Please, can you come here, please? And then I tell you, there is a person on the other side of that curtain. There's a button here. If you press the red button, that person will get electric shock. If you press the green button, that person is not going to get an electric shock. And then they have volunteers come and say, would you like to press red or green? Sometimes they say, the professor will say, press the red. Will you accept it and press the red? Okay. So it's a simple study. And then after the data are collected, that person outside will come in and say, will say, hey, there was no current. There was no electricity. I'm an actor. I can see which button you pressed. If you press the red button, I go, ah! You know, but nobody is being heard. Go home, eat your pizza, and sleep. Is there an ethical problem with this study? This study cannot be done anymore. There is a big ethical problem with that study because I came to know, I was one of the volunteers, I came to know that when somebody tells me to induce electricity to another person, I will willingly do it. I'm a sadist. I have something in my system. If you put me in a position like you see in movies, hey, take this gun, shoot him. Okay, will you shoot or will you not shoot? Of course, today I passed electricity, nothing was happening, but in a real situation, I am capable of doing that. I'm a terrible person. And you have hurt that person. That person didn't need to know. That person was living a happy life, sitting in the back bench and taking notes. But you called that person and you went through it, then said nothing happened, but something happened. If in the future, if I'm put in a situation like that, I can do that. And I don't want to know that. Okay, so ethical problems are there. But coming to your question, anyway, you have to work with your committee members. I like a committee where in the initial meeting or two, they give you a lot of trouble. Your committee must give you a lot of trouble, okay? They must ask you all kinds of questions, and then finally they have to agree and sign off on your topic. And once they sign off on your topic, now you know that the entire committee has signed off. So it's always good in the initial stages to have all these differences cleared out. But it can be a problem. So choose your committee very carefully. Choose your supervisor very carefully. Very important.
So one last question. If we see, this is from Ms. Urvashi Khandal. If we see the participatory approach while analyzing the coverage of development communication in newspapers, content analysis, what would be the instances of content we should analyze and draw the results?
What would be the instances of content? I am not able to understand. Should be to analyze, well, it's all part of your study proposal. You have to come up with you're looking at how effective participatory approaches are. It's difficult for me, sorry, to understand your question, but you have to, I don't even know whether you're thinking of a quantitative study or a qualitative study, and my answer will depend on that. Yeah.
Will. So last one question. Can I get an idea of phenomenological study?
That is another term used for interpretive research. Interpretive research has a lot of names: hermeneutic research, phenomenological research, which means you are studying a phenomenon, okay? And that comes in the domain of interpretive research. So phenomenological study is another type of interpretive research.
Sir, I do have a question.
Yes.
We are undergraduate students and also postgraduate students here, and few of us would want to do research in future. So, what would you like to suggest to those who don't know what to do, what topic to take, how to start?
Well, it's difficult, but the one rule that I followed as a supervisor was I never helped a student with a topic. It's your baby, okay? Your topic is your baby. You must come up with the topic, okay? That's very important. I will help you. I'll help you. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to give you a topic. So the answer is your interest, okay? It's not just your personal interest, though of course that's very important. You must have a very good knowledge about the theories in your area. So where is the research in your field? Are there some questions in your field that are not yet answered? Is there a gap in research? Is there something we need to know that has not been done or not been done enough? You know, so in quantitative research, good literature review is very important. You have to go over the area. You're going to spend 6 months, 8 months, read, and then say, we have a lot of information, but this is one area or two areas where we don't know enough. I would like to, so you can get help. That is why in any academic research, whether it be quantitative research or qualitative, you have to do lit review. You have to do lit review, literature review, and then come up with a topic, because your job is to add to the body of knowledge in your field. You're not a lone ranger going and hunting on your own. There is, you are working in the field of psychology, in behavioral psychology. This is all the stuff that has been done. And you have read quite a bit of that. Now you think that there is a certain area where I need more information. So I will do my study. And once your study is done, and you will be adding your little bit of knowledge to the body of knowledge. That's how our theories are alive and relevant, because they are constantly being replenished by new research. That's why the process of research has no end. The term is research. I told you earlier, go into the term. It's research. Search, and then research, and then research. So it is a continuous process. You're continuously adding knowledge. It might be very little, but still you're adding to the body of knowledge. So that's how you, come up with a topic. All right. I'll just, okay, go ahead. I'm done. We are running out of time.
Yeah, for the paucity of time, there are many other questions, but we need to step ahead towards our valedictory ceremony as well. I request our audience to please rise as rector, PG director, and our principal are taking their seat on the dais. Thank you. You may be please seated. As we conclude the two-day seminar marked with insightful discussion and enriching exchange, it is time for valedictory ceremony. It is with gratitude we acknowledge each and everyone's contribution towards success of this. We are very deeply honored, sir. But before getting into the valedictory ceremony, it's time for feedback session. We are just taking 2 online feedbacks about the entire session. I now invite Ms. Aarti Babu, Research Scholar, Department of Electronic Media and Mass Communication, Pondicherry University, Central University of Pondicherry. Ma'am, you can please unmute and please keep your feedback very crisp. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Is it audible? Okay, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for this informative session.
Aarti ma'am, one moment.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, sir, and good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for this informative session. We received a lot of insights these past 2 days of this seminar regarding communication for social change and the epistemologies of qualitative and quantitative research for inclusive development. And starting from defining and tracing the early paradigms in development and social change to discussing about the agent-oriented or action-oriented communication. So you have helped us to give a picture of how reality of development has been constructed around communication for social change. As you said, now it is the era of development and social change for social justice. And you also gave the basic idea regarding the epistemological foundation of positivism and constructivism and the different methods and the way which we use it in quantitative and qualitative research. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this informative session. I also gave the basic idea regarding the epistemological foundation of positivism and constructivism and the different methods and the way we use it in quantitative and qualitative research. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this informative session.
Thank you, Ms. Aarti. We have one more feedback. I now invite Dr. Shaurini Banerjee, Assistant Professor, Department of Visual Communication, the American College, Madurai. Shaurini ma'am, you can unmute.
Hi ma'am, good afternoon. Am I audible? Hello, am I audible? Ma'am, good afternoon. Am I audible, ma'am? Hello, am I audible, ma'am? Hello.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. Hello, sir. Hello, everybody on the dais. Very good afternoon. It was really a privilege to listen to you because I have completed my studies reading your book. So once I got the opportunity to
Yes,
listen to you, it was
yes.
very eye-opening. Thank you so much, sir. It was really a different dimension that you taught for all these, for the past 2 days. We need more of your sessions. Once I got the opportunity to listen to it, it was very eye-opening. Thank you so much, sir. It was really a different dimension that you taught for all these, for the past 2 days. We need more of your sessions.
Thank you. We have one physical participant from this physical session. I request Department of Postgraduate Journalism and Mass Communication student, Danya, to please share her feedback. Thank you. We have one physical participant from this session. I request Department of Postgraduate.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dhanya. Speaking about this today's session, I feel very happy because, first of all, thank you, sir, for spending your time with us, and it feels so surreal for you to have here because we only knew your name because our lecturers used to tell your name while development communication classes were going on. So you're here. Thank you so much, sir. Speaking about yesterday's session, whatever you taught us, we could connect it. Whenever you said empowerment, we could NREGA, MGNREGA, self-help groups, all these were popping into our mind because it was our lecturers who taught all this. So we could connect to it. And it is just that we got one more perspective of this. So thank you so much for that. And today's session, it was wonderful, sir, because we are in our third semester and we have a paper media research. So it was like we needed something very badly and we get it right at the moment. So it was something like that. So we had so many confusions, what to do, what is the next stage. So at right moment, you're here, you gave good information about this, and thank you so much, sir. And this 2 days conference, maybe not only us who is sitting here physically, but also whoever attended online, it had been uh, great. I think everyone got information, everyone had their doubts, and it got cleared. That is what I feel. So thank you so much.
Thank you for all the participants sharing their valuable feedback. Sir, we are deeply honored to have your eminence presence amongst us for 2 days and sharing your expertise with us. We extend a very heartfelt gratitude. I now request Rector, St. Philomena's Institutions, Reverend Dr. Bernard Prakash Barnes, to felicitate Professor Meelkote as gesture of her appreciation. I request the other dignitaries to please join him.
Okay.
I now request Professor Melkote to please share his experience. Professor Melkote? Yes. To please share your experience.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be here with all of you and share some of my experiences and knowledge. Actually, this happened quite accidentally. Dr. Venugopal just happened to contact me over WhatsApp and said, how are you, Professor Belkote? You know, this and that. And I shocked him. I said, how are you, Venugopal? I'm here in Mysore. He couldn't believe it. And he contacted me within I think 60 seconds. And that's how we met again after some time. And he requested me to come and participate in our conference here. And I readily agreed. I'm aware of this institution because it has been around for a long time. My uncle, way back in the 1950s, was a chemistry lecturer here. Another uncle was a demonstrator in, I think, physics. All this goes to when I was a little boy. So I would think it would be the 1950s, late 50s. And some of your recent invitees, like Dr. Haridas, who came and spoke in the area of physics, was here. And yes, I know something, but it's my first experience here to come and be with you. And I'm, I should say, very overwhelmed by the reception that I got. And because this is what I didn't know, I've also been looking around the campus. And all in all of you students must realize that this is a very nurturing place for you. At least that's what I get from it. It's a very nurturing place for you. And it's a quality institution in terms of facilities as well as faculty. And this is the kind of place that we need. Plus, I was educated a bit on the history of this place yesterday. Dr. Pinto has been talking about that. Thank you so much. I think that institutions like this that provide mentoring to young men and women is very, very important. The nurturing of young men and women is probably the most important thing that we, owe, because all of you are in that beautiful age between 20 and 30, 35. And that's a beautiful age when you're not children anymore, but you're not old enough to have inflexible attitudes and values. You're still willing to listen. You're still willing to incorporate, knowledge and values. In other words, college students everywhere, your mind is very malleable. And so we still have an opportunity. And as a teacher, I always used to thank myself for my job, that every day I can go and talk to 30 students and 40 students in my class who will be willing to listen to me and write things on their notebook. What I say, I have that power. Every teacher has that power. That's very important power. And as teachers, we have the power to create the new generation of leaders, and our institutions in which we work are just as important because they have given us a environment in which new ideas, knowledge can be disseminated. They also provide guidance on, values, and that is sorely lacking in the larger society. And universities, colleges in democratic societies are the only places where we can talk, without mixing our biases. We bring to you our knowledge and guide you and mentor you. And so these are great mentoring institution, and it's very important. It's been doing this for decades, and I do wish the best for the institution. And again, thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope that we can develop a relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Dr. Nandish HK, Head, Postgraduate Department of Economics, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to all. A good education can change anyone. A good teacher can change everything. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contributions of those who worked tirelessly to make this two-day international seminar successful. First, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our special guest and resource persons of today's function, Professor Srinivas Melkote, Emirates School of Media and Communication, Bowling State University, Ohio, USA, for accepting our invitation and providing valuable insights to the students as well as participants. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I take immense pleasure to thanking our rector, Reverend Father Dr. Bernard Prakash Barnis, who is a constant source of our inspiration and support in all our endeavors. Thank you, Father. Thank you very much. Sincere thanks to our respected principal, Dr. Ravi J.D. Saldana, for his unwavering support and encouragement. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. My sincere thanks to our beloved PG Director, Professor Akbar Pinto, who is consistently guides and encourages to achieving more. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Special thanks to Vice Principal Administrative, Dr. Prakash Kutino, sir, Vice Principal Academic, Professor Nagarajara, sir, and IQSA Coordinator, Professor Thomas Gunshiran, sir, for their constant guidance and support. Thank you, sir. Special thanks to Dr. Noor Mubashir, Madam, Dean of Postgraduate Studies and Research Center. Thank you, Madam. And very special thanks to Dr. Venugopal Gowda, Head PG Department of Mass Communication and Journalism, who was instrumental in organizing this two-day international seminar. Thank you very much, Venu. Sincere thanks to all heads of the department, colleagues, and as well as faculties of this institution. Everyone, thank you very much. Thank you. And also extend my warm thanks to all participants from across the globe, different places of India, both online and offline, for contributing to the success of two-day international seminar. Thank you, everyone. And my special thanks to our beloved students from PG, UG, and non-teaching staffs, media friends. Thanks to everyone who directly and indirectly supported to make this program very successfully. Thank you, and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nandish. As we draw curtain on this enriching dialogue, it is evident that our journey doesn't end here. It continues on the lines of shared insights, collaboration, and action. Thank you, everyone. Finally, underlining the essence of Professor Melkote and Professor Steve's idea, change is all about nurturing possibilities. Thank you.